Good morning, guys. Welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Matt Shoemaker and this is the Tech Forum. Today's video is an interesting one. This is the first road trip that we're taking in the Model 3. First time supercharging on a road trip. So today's trip, we are going from Northern Illinois up to Minnesota to visit my wife's family for the Labor Day weekend. And really looking forward to it. We have to stop twice to supercharge. We're going to stop at the Boston, Wisconsin supercharger and eat at the Culver's there, and then we're going to stop at the Oakdale, Minnesota supercharger. So very much looking forward to the trip. We have enough luggage to completely fill both the frunk up front and the trunk in the rear, and it'll be my wife and I and my 15-year-old son. So I'm going to try and record as many adventures, I guess you'd say, as I can. We always see interesting things on the road as we're traveling. So anyway, let's get to it. We are on the road on the way to visit some family out of state. We're going up into Minnesota. So we are just making a quick stop. Our first charging stop will be in Boston, Wisconsin, and then we'll make a charging stop in Oakdale, Minnesota as we continue on to visit our family. So we'll keep you posted how the trip goes. Yeah, a hunting blind. Interesting things seen on the road. Let's see here. 250 watt hours per mile so far. On our way to Boston. All right. There's another Model 3 supercharging. So we'll see what the... looks like they have tinted windows also. We'll see what our screen says here. All right, we charged let's see here, $8.69, and we have gained 263 miles of range for $8.69. So it says time remaining 25 minutes. That's to fully charge it because the charge rate ramps down as the battery gets more full. So we are leaving Boston, Wisconsin on our way to Oakdale, Minnesota for our next supercharger. Okay, we are 366 miles into our journey, and we are heading toward the Oakdale, Minnesota supercharger. We'll arrive at 11% state of charge, and beautiful looking sun rays coming through the clouds, both through the top of the clouds and coming out the bottom. Just gorgeous. Whenever we drive up to Minnesota to visit family, we always marvel at the beautiful sunsets that we see. So autopilot's been going well. We've probably been on autopilot over 95% of the time, and just going great. We've seen some interesting cars. We saw a Model S and a Model 3 at the Boston charging station. That was kind of cool. But yeah, just enjoying ourselves and having a lot of fun. I will check back in when we're at the Oakdale supercharger. All right, here we are at Oakdale supercharger, and we are parked next to a white Performance 3. There's the big brakes with the red brake caliper. It's got white seats, and let's come around back here. No license plates, so it is brand new. It's just got a registration sticker in the window. And another dark Model 3 with the 18-inch wheels there. So yeah, here we are. We will stretch our legs. Say hi to the camera. Hi. Hi, camera. My son.
Hi, camera.
Wow, look at what we found in the parking lot. A prototype Audi e-tron. Even says e-tron on the brake caliper.
As well as the stickers on the back of the window and the lights.
Very, very cool. My son spotted it. Awesome. So cool. I love it. It was $9.66 to gain let's see here. How many miles did we gain? We got here with 10%, so about 30 miles. So we gained 200 miles and it cost us $9.66. Took right about 25 minutes or so to hit that point. We were charging at a rate of 450 miles per hour of charging. So that's the last leg of our journey. We are on our way. Forgot the helmet and knee pads, so the shades will protect me. Old tiny little post office and a beautiful car going by. How quaint. Very cool. Here in Minnesota there are quite the insects. This is from just a 15-mile drive, taking my brother-in-law for a ride in the car, letting him drive it. 409 works awesome for this. It's safe on the paint and really removes the bugs. I've also used Armor All bug and tar remover. Works really well, but honestly 409 is cheaper, you get more of it, and it works every bit as well. Alright, we are on the road heading home. It's raining. It was a downpour while I loaded the car, of course. So we are headed toward the Oakdale supercharger. It says we'll have 37% left when we get there, but we'll have the air conditioning cranked and it's raining, so probably get there with about 20%. So we are going through a tunnel in Minneapolis. It's quite wet out and we're in rush hour, but one of those landmarks that we look for when we take this trip. Alright, we are at the Oakdale supercharger again. So, plugged in. Got a Model X, white, darker Model S down there at the end. So, gonna meet my family inside, grab a bite, and use the facilities. Using autopilot in absolute downpour. Going through Wisconsin. Here we are at the Mauston supercharger. You can see I was regulating my speed based on how far we had, so we made decent time, but really need a good solid charge, so we'll go ahead and eat. And we are the only ones here, so no one else is plugged in currently. Alright, getting back in the car, ready to leave back to Illinois. One thing I wanted to point out on these charging stalls, for those of you that don't know, see how it says 1A? Over here it says 2A on our charger. Well, the reason for that is that the way I've been told is that there's one electric line that supplies 2 charging stations. And so what you want to do is when you pull into a Tesla charging station, if you see a car at a supercharger, don't park right next to it. Skip one stall and then park one away, because you don't want, if 2 cars are parked next to each other on the same, 1A and 2A, it cuts the charge rate in half. So you always want to park at one stall, skip one, park at the next one, and you really only want to park next to each other if there's no other place to park and charge, because you'll both charge a lot slower. So anyway, we'll get on the road shortly. All right, we're heading back out, going home. You can see that we're currently at 33 kilowatts, 34 kilowatts of charging that we have. We've added 251 miles of range. We currently have 260 miles of range. It's 164 miles to get home, so but we'll have the AC on and we'll be driving fast enough that we'll probably get home with about 30 miles or so. Anyway, $8.69 of cost, so we're leaving Culver's and heading home. All right, well, we are back from Minnesota, and was an interesting experience, I guess you'd say, just all the way around. The supercharging experience, wonderful, a lot better than I was assuming it would be. And I remember when I bought this car, I don't know if it was the salesperson at the Tesla store or who it was, but someone from Tesla that I was communicating with had told me that I can expect 170 miles of driving range for every 20 minutes, I believe it was, plugged in. And when we stopped to plug in, what we achieved was a 430 to 450 miles per hour of charging speed, and just absolutely incredible. And so that's right in line with what we were quoted as far as charging speed goes. We plugged in at Mauston, and we were seeing 120 kilowatt charging rate. And now, one of the things that I have to point out is that we were going 77 miles an hour for most of the trip. It's a 70 mile an hour speed limit, and traffic was flowing at about 80. And so to keep just a little bit slower than the flow of traffic, we set the cruise at 77, and we used the AC pretty much the entire way. And I was averaging about 310 watt hours per mile. Now, the driving range that Tesla quotes is assuming a 225 to, I believe, 245 watt hour per mile power consumption when you're on the expressway. So when it plans these trips, it tells you how many miles you're gonna have, or how much percent of charge is left in the battery when you reach your charging point. That is very optimistic of Tesla. When we left, we were told that by the nav that we would have, I believe it was something like 31% or something state of charge when we reached Mauston. Wow, was that wrong? We got to Mauston with, I believe, 11% in the battery, and so the nav was not taking into account the fact that that we were driving the speed we were. The nav was assuming that the speed limit was 65, and but Wisconsin had raised it to 70, and again we were going a few miles over that. If you drive just the speed limit through that area, you're gonna get hit by someone, so you kind of have to drive a little bit faster. But also it's assuming you're not going to use the air. So right off the bat, anyone that's traveling with a Tesla, you're going to want to overcharge and have 50% more range than you need. And I don't mean overcharge as in above 100%. You can't do that. It stops at 100%. But if your navigation tells you that you need to charge to 70% or whatever to reach your next charging stop, charge higher. Charge to 90 or 95%. Charge really high, because you're probably going to use more energy than the navigation assumes you are. So so that's one thing. Second thing is that you can control it. I was noticing that as I would look at the screen as we were driving, I saw that that it was saying things like, well, you'll have 18% when you reach your destination, and 10 minutes later you'll have 17% when you reach your destination, and 10 minutes later you'll have 16%, and I could see it dropping. So what I did is I increased the temperature so the air conditioning wasn't running as hard, and I decreased my speed. Now, not much. Again, I went from 80 down to 77, but I noticed that all of a sudden, the percentage that the screen was stating I would have left in the battery had stabilized. So it is pretty easy to hit a point where you hit this point of stasis where you're not using any more energy than the nav assumes, and then you can maintain there. So that's one little tip that I can give you guys. I can say that the supercharging experience is very good. The difference between stopping to supercharge versus stopping at a gas station. Stopping at a gas station is sort of an inherently, I don't know, I guess you'd say dirty thing. I don't know, it's just weird. You stop at a gas station, the ground under the car is kind of filthy and from gas dripping and cigarette butts and whatnot on the ground. And the gas pump is always kind of gross. I mean, it's just, I don't want to sound like a prima donna, but it's kind of gross stopping to gas up at some gas stations. Now, there are exceptions to that, but for the most part, gas stations are not the cleanest experiences, cleanest facilities. But all the superchargers that I've seen, and I've only seen 3 different superchargers since owning this car, but all of the supercharging stations have been super clean. I mean, really, really clean. The parking areas are squeaky clean. The chargers themselves, the connectors, at least visibly clean. You know, probably germs on the connectors, but you get what I'm saying though. Very clean, and so you get out of the car, again, you're parked on a very nice spot. Tesla paints the pavement, and at least at the chargers we were at, I believe it was orange with a white stripe around it, if I'm remembering correctly. And just the ground was clean, the charger itself was clean. Since there's no gas being dispensed, you can't have any spillage. I didn't see any cigarette butts on the ground. I don't know why it is that people pull into a gas station and throw their cigarette butt down. It seems really hazardous, but I see cigarette butts all over the ground at gas stations, none at all at the charging stations. So that was very nice. My wife noticed the same thing, that it was just very clean at the charging stations. One negative is if it's raining, the charging stations, none of them that we were at had a roof, and I know some of them do, but none of them that we stopped at had an overhang. So if it's raining, which it was at the one, you have to get out with an umbrella and plug in, which seems, I mean, it's safe to plug in. I do a video on can you plug in the rain, and it is safe. So if you want to go back and watch my video of that, you can. But it still just seems weird that at really nice Tesla charging stations, there's no overhang, yet at these disgusting gas stations, there's an overhang over nearly all of them. So that's one thing. I would say that in our 430-ish mile drive to Minnesota, we stopped twice to charge, and I would say it killed probably 30 extra minutes in having to charge. We charged a total of about 1 hour. It was 40 minutes at one charging station, 20 minutes at the next charging station. So we killed about 1 hour in charging, but at the Mauston station, we stopped to eat, and we would have stopped to eat on a normal trip anyway, in between gas stops. So the fact that you have to stop to eat and you can charge while eating is one nice part of this. So I'd say if you're planning a trip, a full day trip, plan an extra half hour to 45 minutes of additional time on the road, because you're probably not going to drive as fast in order to save range, and it is going to take you more time to charge than you would spend gassing up and eating combined. So it is slower to drive a Tesla interstate than it is a normal car, but not by much, not enough to really warrant the decision to use a gas car. It would have cost us, in my wife's Ford Fusion, it would have cost us $120 round trip in gas between the trip there and back and all the errand running and sightseeing we did there. But instead we paid $40 to charge, and now we did charge up at home and then while we were there at our relative's house, so we have to add that on. I'd say it was probably $46 or $47 total in electric costs to do the trip. So that means we saved $70-something, $72 to $74 or something like that in travel expense between the cost of what it would have been to gas up versus the electric cost. I do have to tell you that here in Northern Illinois, Teslas are a curiosity. Up in Minnesota, in rural Minnesota, Teslas are not just a curiosity, they are an oddity. Every single person that walked by when I was outside near the car asked about it. Every single person. I was spending time detailing the car, cleaning the bugs off the nose while this thing builds up with bugs. And Minnesota is very rural.
even middle of the day, there's mosquitoes and bugs, flies. I spent a lot of time keeping the nose clean. So it's going in for paint protection film soon. But anyway, so I spent quite a bit of time just because we were on vacation. I could do that. So I'm sitting on the concrete driveway cleaning the bugs off the nose. And every person that walked by, and there were a lot because our in-laws were doing a garage sale while we were there. And I was in the driveway with it plugged in, charging. So a lot of people were going by. Every person, while I was outside, that walked by asked about the car. You want to get free supercharging on the Model S, Model X, or a Performance Model 3, go ahead and use my my code at the bottom. It'll be a link in the description. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Again, my name is Matt Shoemaker. Go ahead and watch the rest of my videos if you hadn't already, and you know, leave any comments that you feel necessary. Take it easy.